What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Creed of Crypto podcast. It is Broke Boi Crypto here with you, with my co-host Crypto Ewok here. As always, we have an action-packed show for you tonight because one day after we went off the air last week, the big rolling came down for XRP and Ripple that it is not considered a security, which is obviously bullish news. I mean, I guess it's bullish news for Ripple. I don't think it's really going to go anywhere, but also the rest of the industry. So huge. I know we're a week late on that, but there are ramifications that we're going to see from this over the next 2 to 8, 10 years, whatever. So we're definitely going to talk about that and a whole lot more tonight. We got stuff happening as always in the PulseChain ecosystem. We've had some dips here in the last couple of days. We're going to get to that as well. If you are here, smash the like and welcome in. We do this every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ewok, how are you feeling this evening?
Feeling good. Another Wednesday, and yeah, I think that Ripple thing was great for everybody. So it sets a precedent for the rest of crypto. Obviously, it was good for their price. I think it over doubled overnight, pretty much. So yeah, lots of positive things. Like I said, we'd love to see the positive sentiment coming back, and hopefully it can rub off on the rest of the market.
Yeah, I think it will. It did, obviously, for a couple of days anyway, before we started to have a pullback. But again, like we've said so many times, it is still 2023. We're going to have one step forward, two steps back. It's just the way it's going to be this year a little bit. But things are definitely better than the hellscape that was 2022. So
Sure.
let's start off just kind of looking at where BTC and ETH are. We've got BTC. It dipped just below 30K. That has scared some people for some reason over the last couple of days. But we have seen some short-term bearishness a little bit for the first time in a little while with Bitcoin and ETH. ETH sitting just below 1,900. We're going to get to where we think that price could go for Bitcoin and kind of what the levels are, if you're kind of looking at the rest of the market. PulseChain right now is a little bit over SAC rate still. We've got PulseX still at that 67% discount off of the SAC rate, and a combined hex price on both chains of just about 3 cents. A hex on PulseChain still maintaining that 2-to-1 ratio, basically. So, that is where we're at. Not too much has changed price-wise, but beginning with this, so again, bullish action with the Ripple stuff last week. We're going to get into that because it's huge for altcoins in general, and I think that BTC dominance is going to continue to plummet as we get into this bull market and into continuous bull markets, much to Benjamin Cohen and the likes' chagrin, unfortunately for them. But let's talk about this Bitcoin dipsy-do that we've got in the last few days here, Ewok. Falling below 30K is interesting. I think I want to get your thoughts on this, but I think, even if we see Bitcoin retrace the whole way back to about 25.5K, which was like a big barrier that if you guys look at our shows back in like January, February, we were talking about, oh man, if we flip that, the bears pretty much have no more case in this bear market. We're in a new cycle now. We have flipped that. Bitcoin's been up over 30K. We've seen action that, it would take this is overused, I think, but an absolute epic black swan to see new lows for, back to November of 2022. But what do you think the chances are that Bitcoin could retrace back to that 25K-ish point, Ewok? Because there is a bit of a gap between there and where we are right now. And what do you think it would kind of mean for this market right now? Oh, I think you're muted. There you go.
I agree. I think it would definitely take some sort of weird event to get back down there at this point. It's been staying in this range. We painted these lines on many, many months ago, and it's definitely respecting all of them. And it's staying within these two ranges. And I think it's just going to chop around again. We even had the news of the ETFs, and it still didn't do a whole lot. So, yeah, in order to get back down to even 25,000 would take a lot at this point. You've got your, what is it, the 200-day moving average even if it would come back down to there, you would still be right around 26,000. So
yeah,
the 25 was gonna take something special. I could see it retesting back down here to this 28,000 though, and bouncing around there. That's only your 50-day moving average. So, it could come back down and test that line in our range here. But yeah, I don't think, I really think, it's going to stay in here, chop around. And like you said, one step forward, two steps back. And we are seeing a little bit of, it looks kind of bearish. It's kind of turned over here. So
yeah.
we'll have to see in these next couple of days how this reacts. If it pumps back up and tries to fight to stay back in this upper range or not. But again, we could test back down here to about 28,500 as well.
Yeah, I could see it happening, and I guess that's just kind of my caution. I guess for some people is like, if that does happen, it's not like the new market, the new cycle, the coming bull market is over or anything like that. It's just kind of still where we are this year. But yeah, we're going to see that oscillation, and you were just talking about like the ETF news and all these other hugely bullish things that have, well, if you consider that bullish, that have been going on over the last couple of weeks, the XRP thing, it's just another reminder that like the news is always a lagging metric. I mean, that'll be there. People will try to assign, what is happening on the chart to the news and everything, but that's always going to, if you're talking about something like that, that's already priced in, that's already in there at some point. So that's what, TA, it's like it never fails. And I don't mean like that people are flawless in making predictions or anything, but looking at cycles, respecting where the price is or where it could be, regardless of anything in the future, is really paramount. I think that's what we really have to be looking at. So, so I think we'll see more of that this year. I mean, we've talked about this, but I think like maybe the longest shot for Bitcoin by the end of this year would be 50K. I still am hesitant to think that we get there, but I could see a cross into the 40s. Are you still kind of thinking that too, Ewok?
Yeah, it's going to take a lot to get to 50 at this point. Yeah. Even with the news of that ETF going live, it should be interesting to see. That could catapult it up there a little bit, but yeah, it takes a lot of energy to move Bitcoin anymore. A lot of financial power at a very similar time, just because it has gotten so heavy, and the energy that it takes to rise it up that high. It could be something to wait for and see. But yeah, I'm thinking maybe just over 40, 45 tops. 50 would be pushing it by the end of the year. But again, we have to wait and see how it all plays out.
Yeah. And that's kind of been the theme, Bitcoin's slowing down, diminishing returns over time. And that's why, we're bullish, obviously, on the PulseChain and Richard Hart ecosystem, amongst a couple of other things. Number one, because we think they're good products, but also because the gains in those top cryptos are diminishing. I mean, a lot of people started out with just Bitcoin back in 2017. And that's just not, if you want to, get into the moon math territory, you just can't really focus on that anymore. So I want to turn our attention to this XRP and Ripple warning ruling from last week. So for the time being anyway, until something else is opened up, we have XRP being deemed a commodity, which means this is the big thing. XRP likely would be the most likely to be called a security out of any of these tokens in existence, practically. So that's why this is so ridiculously bullish for all of these other tokens, for these exchanges, really for the whole industry, because if it's going to be called a commodity, then everything's going to be called a commodity. That's just how it's going to be until the SEC tries to finger their way into it again, although Mr. Burns, Gary Gensler may not be there for all that much longer. I want to ask you, Ewok, to you, somebody who has been around, multiple cycles and really been in this since not necessarily the early days, but you've been around the block a long time. What do you feel like this ruling does mean for crypto exchanges? Because we saw what like Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, what some of these people were saying in reaction to this. What does it mean for, as I mentioned, the altcoin industry as a whole? Bitcoin dominance dropped a precipitous drop immediately off the news, which it should, and it's going to continue. And what does it mean for the industry in general? I know those are three big questions, but yeah, what do you think this means?
Well, as I said in the intro there, I think it just sets a great precedent for the rest of crypto.
Mm,
Like you said, Ripple has always been one of those very curiously almost security-ish tokens anyway.
yeah.
You know, you have a lot of the things that they look for: a centralized founder, location, building, for God's sakes. I mean, they have a staff of people. So there is expectation of work from others because they're working on things constantly. Um, it's got a very centralized ownership as well. You know, Garlinghouse owns a big portion, or the Ripple, whatever they are.
Hmm.
They own quite a bit of that. So, just the ruling in itself, it sets a great precedent for the rest of them to say, well, you deemed this a commodity, so come on, where are we at? And I think that's why Gensler was kind of upset. His reaction was upset with the ruling, only because now they can't easily lump a bunch of things into very similar to Ripple.
Right.
Like I said, it's just the precedent that it sets for other lawyers to take that case and use the ruling and say, well, you have to stay consistent somewhat. So here's this, and here's how much more decentralized or non reliant of all of these other things that we are, and you have to kind of rule in our favor, no matter who we are is. I don't mean
Yeah, I
anybody
get it.
we, but my token is not near what this is, and you've already ruled this one. So yeah, I do think it sets the precedent for future cases, and yeah, it's good for the overall space for a lot of different tokens.
Totally agree. Especially when you think about the max FUD and the things that were going on in the Hex community back in December-ish of 2022. I mean,
Yeah.
not just Hex, I mean everywhere, but I mean specifically in relation to the SEC, there was there was news that some people that have streamed in the past have received some kind of notice or questionnaire, or whatever the hell you want to call it, in the mail from the SEC, which was really just, have you guys ever been paid before? It really wasn't that big of a deal at all.
Right.
But, just little things like that. There was so much fear around those kind of things just a mere 6 to 7 months ago. And now here we are where it's like, oh, okay, well, everybody's just fine.
Yep.
I want to ask you on the exchanges side of things, because this is obviously great for them too. I mean, Coinbase, and here's the thing. So you brought up Gary Gensler, whose name is obviously going to come up in this discussion because he is the, head controlling figure of the SEC for the time being anyway, until he's gone or it's totally reformed, as there is legislature to now try to do. But with crypto exchanges, Brian Armstrong came out. I forget who it was that didn't even have XRP listed at the time being. I think Gemini, maybe Coinbase too. I can't even remember how it was, but
Yeah.
multiple didn't even have XRP listed anymore. What do you think this means for exchanges, not just with XRP, because we could care less about that token, but in terms of what they are listing, the clarity, the freedom for them, and then juxtaposed with Coinbase still being sued at the moment by the SEC? What do you make of that?
Well, that whole situation is still quite interesting to me because they still want Coinbase to be the holder and custodian
Mm-hmm.
of the BlackRock funds when that ETF goes live. So I think it opens up freedom to them to do kind of whatever they want at this point. And they were one of the ones that did not have Coinbase or XRP listed, was Coinbase. And they reactivated it. So it's back on there. Yeah, I think it gives them freedom to list kind of, I don't want to say whatever they want. I mean, I know they have a process in place. I don't know what the steps are to get listed on Coinbase. I don't know that there really ever was an official like apply to, I know with Binance, you have to spend a bunch of money to even have them look at it and list it and give them a large portion of the tokens for liquidity purposes. But again, it just opens up a lot of freedom for them to do a lot of different things and not so much worry about the rulings, because again, the precedent has been set. So good thing all around. Good thing for investors, good thing for the exchanges. So
Yeah.
quite
And
bullish. Yeah.
It is bullish all around, and yeah, it will have, dare I say, ripple effects on the whole industry over the next couple of years. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Dad joke extraordinaire over here. But yeah, it's going to be really good the next couple of years, I think. And again, yeah, to have that precedent already set is great. This has to be, I don't really care about this that much, but I mean, Gensler has to be gone, I would think, sometime here soon. The SEC, is not only not really serving at all the purpose in the crypto industry in any way that they claim to do, they're actually detrimental and playing a part in hurting people even more. So,
yeah, I agree with that statement. They haven't done much good to protect anybody. They were not involved in Celsius. They weren't involved with BlockFi or Luna or any of the FTX. In fact, they were in bed.
They were involved. With
they were involved. So, I mean, that just goes to show you that they really haven't done anything to protect the common investor at all. So,
yeah.
The need to have them is diminishing even more and more every day.
Yeah. Well, if you guys are in here enjoying the stream, hit the like. We appreciate you guys being here tonight. Good transition by you again, Ewok. So, real quick. So, Celsius, one of the scam companies, centralized platform where you could put your tokens on and earn yield that wasn't really yours over the last couple of years. They inevitably went up in flames in 2022. I can't really recall what month that was. I feel like that was around either way, basically April of 2022 for the rest of the year was abysmal. So they were in there somewhere. Mashinsky, who I don't even remember his first name, but he was arrested finally last week. I don't know why he's been the chosen one to be arrested. Who knows what will happen to him? I'm sure he will be bailed out and a free man if he isn't already. We already know that Sam Bankman-Fried is getting the kid gloves treatment and stuff like that because, hey, he's just a kid. The guy's only 30, made a simple mistake. He's just a little knucklehead. But what do you think about like this Mashinsky thing? Because still, I think the what's the other big one? Voyager. I don't remember those guys' names, but I know they're kind of hiding out and stuff. None of these people are going to be brought to proper justice, of course. But what do you think, like, just the arrest of Mashinsky might mean? Is he just the one that the establishment wants to make an example out of because he's older? I don't know. I mean, what do you make of this? I mean, it's good that it happened, I guess, but yeah. I don't think many of these guys are going to get their comeuppance here.
Well, I don't either. I don't think any of them are. And, SBF was arrested too. So, I mean, it doesn't, just because they're arrested, doesn't mean they're thrown away. You locked in a cell and the key's thrown away forever. They still have to go through their bankruptcy proceedings. And who knows? I mean, really, I don't think anything will really come of it because of the agreement that they had in place when you do it. And this is why we always say, don't give your money to somebody else to pay you yield. It goes back to that statement because when you do, you sign away your rights to the money. It's no longer yours. So there's some gray areas in there where obviously there was fraud happening and that's what they're being arrested for, but people will never see their money again. Once the proceedings and all the lawyers are taken care of, people may be lucky to get 10, 15 cents on a dollar that they had if they're lucky. Right. So yeah, I don't think it means anything. And again, they're just trying to stir it up and say that they're actually doing something, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, what good does it do? I really don't know because they don't receive, the punishment for stealing billions of dollars from people. So
yeah, I think that is going to be the message. And let's remember, I mean, even though it's 2023 and because this is kind of a dead year for the most part, I mean, obviously PulseChain launched, but there's not all that much going on. The people that are watching this stream right now are people that are actual crypto people that have been here for a little while. The people that are going to be entering the market next year, 2025, maybe even 2026, they don't realize the difference between centralization versus DeFi. So if another platform, and who knows, I mean, somebody else is probably going to try some kind of centralized crypto staking mechanism. I mean, I'm sure it's going to happen. I mean, exchanges are doing it now. but not quite as bad as something like Celsius or anything. But
Right.
I'm sure we're going to see something like that again, and people will need to know the difference. So,
yep. You
anytime.
see it every cycle. You see it every cycle. All the things that got people wrecked, people forget about it because a lot of those people have left the market. So they do rinse and repeat under a different name, under a different product.
Mm-hmm.
And they always come back. And it works until it doesn't. It works until the bear market happens, which it does every cycle. There is another one of those to come too. So the products themselves, like the reflection tokens and the all the games and the lending, and you will see all of that return under a different name. They'll add a new flashy look to it and say, well, this is what we do instead, but they really don't. It's just a front, and people will lose millions again. It's the cycle that happens every cycle. It happens again. So.
Yeah, and it really shows the value of understanding DeFi, learning it, being familiar with it right now, and knowing how if you want to earn some kind of yield, which clearly people have wanted to in the past and they're going to want to in the future with crypto, because, the volatility of this market, it's so comforting to be able to earn yield. We've talked about Hex so many times, being down. EHEX still down like 99%, but obviously there's some caveats there with the stock split and everything. But Hex down 95, 98% in the past, like still being able to earn crazy yield on that on the way down and on the way back up is massively valuable. So people are going to be looking for that. Transitioning to something terrible that happened over the last week. Now, this is kind of interesting because this actually is technically DeFi. But, you still have some people that don't have the best of intentions in that. So I want to talk for a minute. We don't talk about Fantom very much on here. There's, various layer ones. Fantom was really one of the stars, the token is FTM, from this past bull market. But it's basically been a rug city shitcoin extraordinaire for, since the market started to go down, because Andre Cronje, who's like the lead developer, just decided to randomly walk away, and then he's back, and then he, I am or I'm not, and I'm going to post about it on Twitter and everything. This L1 has been pumped by so many people, and it's just been complete shit with, nothing really going on. And now a lot of where the value has been bridged over into their system on the bridge called Multichain, which I can say, maybe you can hear the vitriol from me here because I've used it in the past. I didn't get burnt by this or anything, but it used to be called, I forget what the old name of it was, but it's called Multichain now. Basically, I want to say it's the founder or the creator of it, his sister or something like that, as makes sense. Basically ran off with a bunch of cash from it. Multichain got totally rugged. And I mean, Fantom, it isn't dead. I mean, it's as dead as Solana, I guess, speaking of another, kind of crappy L1. But yeah, it's, people, it's going to be a Fantom PH chain, I think, this time around. So a lot of the TVL got there from that bridge. Let's talk for a minute. I mean, like, I don't know how many thoughts you have on Fantom or Multichain specifically, Ewok, but I want to talk about like the security of bridges, because we talk about PulseChain on here a lot. We have the PulseChain bridge, if you want to expand on it a little bit. But this is a bridge that was used by millions and millions of people that's just unusable now. And the very important thing I want to make sure people understand, that if you have used multichain.xyz, I think is the actual address, make sure that you do go to revoke cash, which we'll be talking about probably a couple of times here tonight. And any permissions that you have for anything that isn't just your basic Uniswap or something like that you have high confidence in, and maybe, even if it's a transaction you did a couple of years ago, I would revoke that. It does cost money on Ethereum. It's only like $1 or $2, but I would revoke any permissions that you've given for some of these bridges, because like on Multichain and on many of these bridges, when you go into a bridge, it's going to ask you, permission to spend all of your USDC or how much or whatever, and to revoke that later on, I think is a good thing. So what do you make of this story, Ewok, and the security of bridges in general?
Well, I find it funny. A lot of times all these people, when they blame hacks, they blame a family member. And it's not the first time, right? I mean, we've seen it happen before where it was a cousin or a brother or whatever it might have been. I think it's just an excuse. But I've never used Fantom. I've never used Multichain. I've just never explored over on that side. I came close at one point. I know, our buddies, DCC and those guys are still bullish on it. I don't know how
I don't know
after
if they.
this.
I don't know if they start now. I
Well,
mean, this
they
is only a week
were.
old, but yeah.
But Miguel and Charlie have been
Yeah.
pushing Fantom for a long time. There were a lot of decent products on there. There were also some very dangerous ones, like you said. But yeah, the revoke.cash is definitely something that you should do no matter what, whether there's a hack or not. You should do that periodically anyway, just to go through and any site that you haven't used in a long time, definitely revoke that and just keep yourself a little extra safe. Security is one of those things that took Richard a long time to find a working bridge that was trusted and never compromised and things like that. So they did their homework, and it's one of those things where every little bit of extra security goes a long way when you're talking billions of dollars traveling back and forth all the time. So yeah, I never really explored on the Fantom side of things. Never even bought Fantom really. So
Yeah.
I think the multi-chain though is a good idea. Obviously, we have that now with the PulseX or PulseSwap platform. With the multi bridge, multi layers. You can go from one chain, multi-chain is what I was looking for. It's a great idea to be able to swap back and forth. I hope that none of that was part of it. I haven't heard anything being tied to any kind of hack, because I think you could use. I think Fantom was one of the ones listed, right, on the Pulse Swap.
I honestly don't know. I'm not sure if it's on there or not. But I mean, I do know. I mean, it's been a very popular. It was one of the most popular L1s from the last cycle, and not only that, but I mean, it's a huge DeFi chain. I mean, like they had a ton of products and multiple dexes on there, and like some good staking mechanisms and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, this is just going to hurt them really bad. There's just been too many drama-filled crappy things that have happened with Fantom. Again, like I mentioned, like Andre Cronje, who I get it. I mean, like it would be like, no, it wouldn't be like that. That's going too far. But like if Richard Hart were to up and literally disappear instead of just not streaming for a few months.
So Andre was a developer though, right?
Yeah, that's what
he was
say.
Actually a developer.
Yeah, he was like a lead developer, which again, a whiz kid by all accounts and everything, and made Fantom what it was and stuff like that. But still, it shouldn't have that much of effect. But that just shows, the kind of effect a person can have on a chain. And admittedly, I don't think that was just obviously that's nothing compared to this issue with multi-chain. It's just another huge blow, basically a knockout punch for a chain that already had some crap stuff going on. So yeah, and hey, I mean, not to trample on the dead, but I mean, one down in terms of PulseChain. I mean, it's another chain just to sweep aside that has a massive hack basically with its biggest bridge, and I don't think people are going to be running to get into Fantom or Solana really. I mean, this cycle, why would you? They don't work, and there's been fraud massively. So
sure, it's all the more bullish for PulseChain and everything that's being built on it. Which there's still a lot of stuff that's coming. I mean, there's a lot of products that still haven't even launched yet. I hope they do launch, and this goes to just a comment to make is, just because we don't talk about a lot of this stuff, in order to have PulseChain be successful and be one of those, we are going to need all the things that go along with a blockchain. And that includes, there will be scammy things that happen. There will be bad products. So, you have to be accepting of everything. because we have that stuff on Ethereum, and that's one of the things that made Ethereum what it is, the second best token out there, is because they needed the gas to run it. Some not so desirable things, and we do have to remember that just because a new person's coming on, you kind of want to support people that are new to the chain, but it doesn't mean you have to push it to your audiences anyway. But yeah, I mean, we've got to have that kind of growth and development, or I just don't see the token value going up a whole bunch anyway.
Yeah. You want people to build on PulseChain, regardless of what it is, just to, you don't want scams, but that they're going to be there. That's just the nature of the beast. But yeah, you want people coming to your chain and building new kind of revolutionary things, or maybe even adapting some of the stuff that's on Ethereum and tweaking it a little bit and bringing it to PulseChain, whatever it may be. So, yeah, what was the comment we had there? 1.5 million. Go ahead.
Dave asks 1.5 million EHEX till next year. I think he's asking, am I going to be a millionaire? Give it to me straight. You'll be a millionaire if it gets to 80 cents.
Yeah, just do the math.
It's possible. It's possible. By the end of the cycle, maybe not next year, but the year after. It could be 2025 at the end of that year. If you only bought, my question to Dave was, if you had that much, unless you just recently bought it, you should have a copy of your PulseChain too. And in that case, the two combined should do much better for you. I wouldn't just count EHEX, but unless you just bought 1.5 million of them within the last 60 days, you should have a copy of some of them at least. So
yeah, I'm gonna guess that he doesn't have copies, just because why wouldn't he mention that why would you just specify I just have 1.5 million EHEX? I mean,
maybe he doesn't know he has copies.
Maybe he doesn't. See, this is why you're here, Ewok. Other than that, it's our show we do together. Yeah, good thinking. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's dangerous to have those thoughts. I mean, it's nice to game plan for yourself. Basically think about the amount of money you want. What would be enough for you? Don't put a lot of pressure on yourself, by next year or maybe even this cycle. I mean, it is good to think in terms of this cycle, because then you're thinking another 4 years until you may be able to make some life-changing moves. But, if you, I'll take a page out of Sami's book, as I and many people so often do. If the thought of that not being enough is not enough for you, then I would just start buying more ASAP if you can. You get as long as you can get. So.
Yeah, especially where these prices are where they're at. You'll exponentially increase your returns at these prices, because once it starts to run up, the chances of them coming back to this zone are less and less likely, I should say. It's just the DCA method is still the best in my book, and you guys have to learn that even if you don't have enough, you've got to delay the gratification. A lot of these people that have become wealthy either put a boatload of money in to something when it was very, very young, which means they took an absolute ton of risk with it, or they've been DCAing during the right times and during the cycles, selling when it was high and buying back in even more when it was low. So right. If you use this as a long-term type play, you'll do better and better, and you will be a millionaire eventually. But you have to be patient, and you have to delay gratification, and not buy tops and sell bottoms. So.
And, another idea for you, not financial advice, but I took this approach recently too, because I was just thinking, if you are looking that short term in terms of this cycle, and you're very confident that, by the end of 24 or by the end of 25 or whatever time period you want to put on it, that you think this is when the market's going to start to turn over and go the other way again, why not just take well, maybe you already do. So, but if you haven't, if that's liquid or any part of it is liquid, stake as much of it as you can, if you would like. Just a recommendation of what I've done recently, and just do it until like if you think the bull market could end on X date, just do it until that time, get as many T-shares as you can, and just, that'll be a DCA for you too along the way. So definitely another way to look at it as well. So
Yep.
One more thing before we get into some more really good DeFi. Well, I guess this is a DeFi update too. So ChainLink, which is a much more safe token and ecosystem to be in than Fantom and some of the other stuff we've talked about earlier, finally launched their CCIP, which is basically their mechanism. I never remember what the acronym actually stands for, but essentially because they are an oracle and they provide data to all these other different entities that people could want within crypto, this will actually require people to buy the data with the ChainLink token, which you would think would make sense. That would make the price go up, even though it's been totally sideways for like almost 2 years, or actually, 2 years. I guess if anything, this is in this landscape of land mines that we're talking about here. I do think ChainLink, if you want to have something, if I were to talk about PulseChain, obviously if you're here, you're probably more into the PulseChain Richard Heart ecosystem. But if you are somebody that is a little bit more conservative in crypto, or maybe you have a big ETH or Bitcoin allocation, I think ChainLink's probably the best alternative to anything like ETH to get more gains as we go into the next cycle, because it's about the safest I would feel buying anything in terms of like, will it be around? And, is the founder going to be around? Which I totally believe will be true. But I also think the price is going to go up, and I think it will outpace Ethereum. So I think that that's a good place to do that. And again, we were talking about like the deaths of these other L1s earlier, like Fantom, for all intents and purposes, I think will be dead. Solana, it'll be here, but whatever. This renders Gavin Wood's Polkadot not as useful that it's was considered in the past as a layer 0, which basically was trying to do cross-chain stuff. Atom Cosmos, I know, is trying to do some similar things to DOT. So I think ChainLink, which has already had a long cycle and topped way before Polkadot or Atom did last time, will be the one that kind of rallies up first and really take that part of the space. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Ewok, but I wanted to throw that out there as well, because it was another good piece of news in terms of some of these updates that's happening in crypto right now.
Yeah, again, I had a little bit of Link at one point. I think I sacrificed it for PulseChain when it came out. I never really ventured too far out. When you find something good and you find a founder that you really believe in, like I did, with Richard, I believe wholeheartedly that he wants to help people. He wants people to be successful, and he wants to fix the money. So I just really never, once I found it, I kind of consolidated everything into the Richard Heart ecosystem and never looked back. So I don't have any thoughts. I think it's a great idea. If they are selling their services and oracles to other people, why not make them, buy the token at least as almost like a gas for Ethereum, right? I mean, it's like very similar to that. So I think it could be beneficial to them and their market. So it sounds bullish. Sounds like a good idea, but yeah, I really don't have any thoughts on it or input that I could add.
Well, I think if you do look, because maybe people don't think about ChainLink and stuff like that often, but if you do go down some of the top tokens just on any of these stupid ranking sites, I mean, 1 through 50, 1 through 100, even really, I mean, like, you're hard pressed to find more than 10 that you could say, yeah, I think it'll be around this cycle and do decent to really well. You just are. I mean, there's just not a lot out there, and you realize that once you actually go and look. And ChainLink's definitely one I would put in that category of 10. So, let's answer this for Andrew. Yeah,
Andrew.
Go ahead.
No, Andrew's asking which right now is the better buy, Pulse or PulseX, and I really recommend. I talked to Andrew the other night. I think it's wise to stay pretty even on both allocations, because they're both deflationary. And the more people that come on board with PulseChain, the more tokens get burned that way. With PulseX, we rely on the exchange to burn the tokens there. So, the volumes have been pretty good lately, staying consistent anyway. It's not as hot and heavy as it was when it first launched, but I think we've got 200. Oh wait, let me share this.
The amount that's been burned.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
share this, and you've got so far 134 billion pulse have been burned. A lot of those came from the validators that went offline, but still, that's quite a bit. And then you've got 253 billion PulseX, and that's only 0.177%. It's kind of funny that number is that low, but that is also pretty bullish. So if it were me, Andrew, I would keep your allocations, somewhat across the board. That way you can't go wrong. Why try and pick one winner when you can be right by spreading it out a little bit within the ecosystem? So just my opinion.
I agree wholeheartedly. That's what I said in the chat too. It's for me, I want them evenly, and I'm buying them evenly. And when I say evenly, I mean in dollar terms. Obviously, clearly, I mean you're going to have more PulseX than you are Pulse by tokens if you're just buying them evenly dollar wise. Which one do I think will do better even from this point right now? Well, with PulseChain, I know that wasn't the question, but I'm volunteering it. With PulseChain being actually at SAC rate and PulseX, even on that huge of a discount, I still think PulseChain is going to be the one to beat really here, obviously. And I think most people think that too at this point, even though there was that big narrative of I think just because more people held PulseX that they wanted it to be true that it was going to outperform it. And it is great. I mean, the buy and burn function, as you just talked about, Ewok, is fantastic. I think it's going to do really well. But traditionally, the DEX does not outperform the L1. But at the same time, and there's a lot of firsts here. And that's the thing that I think we have to keep remembering with this chain: the system state copy of Ethereum, and then the first of the DEX and the L1 were launched simultaneously.
Right.
So there's a lot of things that have never happened. I still think PulseChain does better. We're seeing it already so far, even though it's only been 2 months. But I do think over the course of this cycle and future cycles, PulseChain will do better. But I'm with you 100%. I want to own both about equally, because the other thing is too, even though we have seen PulseChain massively outperform it, that's not even necessarily true. It hasn't really massively outperformed it. It's maintained that 1 to 3-ish ratio pretty much the entire time, which is actually kind of bullish for PulseX. So for me, I want to own both, because if that ratio does get weird or risk on, risk off one way or the other, I would want to go from one into the other. So
sure,
give yourself options, like you said. So great question though, Andrew. Always good game theory to talk about that stuff, and I love portfolio talk for sure. So if you guys are here and enjoying the show, smash the like. We do appreciate it. We do this every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's talk this Metamask thing, Ewok. So if some of you have logged into your Metamask this week, you will notice that it has, I guess, a better look. I'm not a huge fan of it. And I actually did notice that it didn't on one of my operating devices I use it on. I didn't notice a different look, but the other one I did. Maybe I just need to get used to it, but I'm still not a fan of the way it looks. But the more important thing is some of these sneaky little things that MetaMask tried to pull in the settings there, much like a Chrome update or an iOS update. If you don't read those terms and conditions, you might find out that they're, I don't know, banging your wife on the side or some weird thing you didn't read about. So what do we have here for MetaMask, Ewok?
So they added a function, and I want to do this kind of slow so you can go back and rewatch. But if you go into,
you want to zoom it in, actually, sorry to interrupt you. If you can zoom in, just scroll it up there. There we go. There you go. Yep.
Is that better?
Yeah, that looks good.
So if you go to security and privacy, you're going to want to scroll down to where it says batch account balance requests and turn that off. This was turned on automatically. And what it does is it batches all of your accounts together and sends the information back to Infura, which is one of the Ethereum nodes. And it essentially ties all your addresses together. So if you're looking for privacy, it kind of throws that out the window because it ties all the wallets together somehow. I'm not sure how it does it upon display when it happens. But I just heard this and I went in immediately and turned it off because we don't want to give away as any more data than we need to. Obviously, I have thought about trying to spin up my own node and connecting to it for Ethereum too. It's just a matter of getting the server. I would probably become a validator for PulseChain first. Use some of those profits to buy another one for the Ethereum node as well. But yeah, you want to protect your privacy. Go in here and turn off the batch account balance requests. So just as a heads up and extra little thing, I forget what else there were.
I don't think there was anything else that was necessarily detrimental, but
yeah, I mean, you can always go in here and play around too with some of the different settings. Turn off any of the, you want to use the phishing detection and show. Yeah. So yeah, the rest of it is fine. But like I said, just turn that off when you go in there. Don't need to give away any of your privacy. So that's really all there is on that one.
Yeah, I would do that with every MetaMask you have. Just go ahead and turn that off. And shout out to the people, because there's been quite a few on Twitter too that have been tweeting about that and making sure they got out in front of it as soon as that update did happen just about 2 days ago. So pretty much everybody here, I imagine most people are a MetaMask user. And, that may be another issue, if you will, that over the course of this cycle we'll probably see addressed. I know Richard's talked about that he is making a wallet. Randy Hilarski's been a big advocate of the Aurochs wallet. I know people have been talking about why can't I think of the sorry, say it again.
Rabby. RABBY.io is supposed to be another very good one. Okay. Haven't really used it myself, but we have Internet Money or Internet.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, Internet Money. Those guys are part of the community as well. And it already has hacks and everything in it. PulseChain, everything is already, right there for you when you log in. I do have Internet Money. I think it's internetmoney.io as well, which I do have the app on my phone. I loaded it just to see what it looked like, but it looks pretty cool. I've checked it out a little bit.
So in terms of, so that's the MetaMask issue. But in terms of so we are addressing a lot of these bullish things that are happening, because a lot of these sneaky little bullish things are happening right now. And the latest thing with Uniswap, which conveniently is called UniswapX, funny enough, the UniswapX feature, so we've already known that Ethereum is pushing out upgrades over the years. We had the merge happen last September, which really all it did was turn it into proof of stake. Didn't really correct the fee thing or anything, but we have the purge and the surge and the splurge and the, all that stuff coming up. And I'm actually not kidding. That's really what they are called over the next couple of years. So we'll see how that goes. But Uniswap, the main DEX on Ethereum, the UniswapX feature. So what it is an update basically where they are claiming there will be no failed transaction fees, which is a huge pain in the ass. I mean, if you've ever had a transaction fail and then also had to pay the gas fee, it's not fun. Doesn't feel too good. They say that they're going to have cross-chain swapping and bridging coming eventually as well. So they're acting as if there won't be fees. I do not believe that at all. I don't know how that will happen, but they're acting as if there won't be fees. Someone is still going to have to pay something to somebody, whether it's hidden or not, almost like an expense ratio in a mutual fund or something like that. But how much have you really looked at this, Ewok? And, I'm sure these will be slow to release, and there is this narrative of Ethereum. We've seen so many times over the last couple of years, whether it's a new L1 or a new L2 or whatever. Oh, EOS, the Ethereum killer. Solana, the Ethereum killer, which is now basically dead. All these different things that are coming to kill Ethereum. When eventually the language, even though you may not like this token, but a layer 2 like Polygon Matic has taken more of an approach of trying to work with Ethereum, be a layer 2, Arbitrum, Optimism, all this other crap like that being layer 2s. But what do you think? I mean, could there be, if this is all as nice as it sounds right now, could this actually pose more of a threat to PulseX if Ethereum and Uniswap figure some of their shit out? What about the improvement of fees eventually on ETH? Well, this is the second part of my question. I'll get there in a minute. But is there a threat to PulseX here on the other side? Just the positivity of this potentially coming to Uniswap. What do you think?
Well, I think there's a couple good things. PulseChain was never set out to be the Ethereum killer. It was horizontal scaling. It was designed to help everybody with the fees and give them another place to transact the exact same thing. So I hope they get the fee situation figured out. If the guys from Ethereum can launch it and update the network with it, well, that means PulseChain will be able to merge that right in too, because it's essentially a code clone of Ethereum code. So, I think that's bullish. Anything that Ethereum does as far as upgrades go, we can merge right into PulseChain. It's good for everybody. I don't know that the goal though was to be feeless completely. I didn't hear that part of it. Other than the failed transactions, you wouldn't have a wasted fee. Right. I don't know that they will have feeless though. You're going to have to pay gas. All transactions require gas. There is only one instance that I know where you can submit a transaction like that, and that's by limit order. I remember, we were using matcha.xyz setting the limit order. And then, the person that market sells when you're buying will pay the transaction fee and you don't have any. So, that's always a good way to save yourself on fees when they do get high, and that's use limit orders. So keep that in mind as well. But yeah, I mean, everybody doing upgrade, it's good. It's bullish for everything. If there's ways they can make it faster, if there's ways they can make it cheaper, any of those are bullish. I know a lot of people had told Richard, hey, you might as well just launch PulseX on Ethereum. Why not? Why not put it over there too? If you can keep the fee structure down, the buy and burn over there, somehow, I don't know how that would work. If you could have a PulseX on the Ethereum chain as well. It would get a little confusing probably, but
right.
But any upgrade like that is good and bullish. It means people are working on things, looking to improve. Always a good sign. So I do like the fact that, hopefully there are no failed transactions in the future, or if there are failed transactions, you don't lose the fee. That no transaction, no fee would be nice.
Yeah, that would definitely be good. I want to ask you this. So this is the other side of my question. This is a more meta question with what's going on with Ethereum and their improvement over the next few years. But what about the improvement eventually, assuming it will happen? And this is something that people have just totally divorced themselves from thinking will ever happen, is the improvement of fees on ETH, okay? We've talked about this a lot, but think about the people, not to get into the argument again, because I'm really not, but that have EES, emergency in-staked their HEX on Ethereum, or just decided to ditch HEX on Ethereum and bridge it over, and for whatever reason buy half the HEX that you could on PulseChain with what you used to have on Ethereum. What if the fees on Ethereum do improve, and maybe the narrative of it being like the whale HEX chain doesn't totally pan out, even though I do think it's going to be potentially the better one for staking in terms of getting a larger piece of the stake pie, if you will. But yeah, what do you think about that? Because what if there is a day where I don't think we ever see ETH fees get down to like where PulseChain or something like that is right now. But what if instead of top of bull market, you're paying $30 to, do a swap or something like that? It's sub 10, or like in the environment that we're in right now, instead of certain things being $10, it's below $5 for everything right now. I mean, if it gets much more tenable, I mean, what do you think about people that just decided that I'm done with HEX on Ethereum?
I think it's their loss, and I don't think they should be doing that. We've talked about it many times. Johnny was on stream, or you should not pick a winner. If you have a little bit of everything, then you don't do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Vitalik has said himself it shouldn't cost more than 5 cents to do a transaction. He said
Right.
that. I don't know if he changed his worldview. I see Elon has a affection for Hex. I see
he does. I just went ahead and
see that tweet.
Yeah, I just put it in the chat a few minutes ago.
Interesting. Sorry, I was a little distracted by that.
It's gonna. He clearly does not mean Hex of the crypto variety.
Well, how do you know that?
Read the thread. I was reading
that part.
I was reading who he was replying to, but it doesn't fucking matter. That's the beautiful thing about this,
right?
And about Twitter is this community is going to completely take it out of context.
Absolutely.
Throw it everywhere. And before you know it, he may actually talk about Hex. So
that's right.
I guarantee we get a pump out of this right now. I guarantee.
We could. And I retweeted it just now too, just because he said I have a fondness for Hex.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sorry. Yeah. You have to. What were we talking about?
I don't know.
The fees if people are going to
regretting it. Yeah. I mean, like, it's the same dumb thing we're always talking about. It's just like, I don't know why these people are so. It's just like, it's the equivalent of selling. It is selling at the bottom. It's just like, get out of it. Why would you do that? Like, at the very least. I've been watching like Corey Gary and Money Talks with Dane here or there. Those guys are cool. They stream a couple of times a week, I think. And, I think they have a good perspective on it because they're saying like they're more confident in Hex on a PulseChain, which I would probably even say that. But like, what are you going to do with your Hex on Ethereum? You're not going to, why would you be into staking anything? You're going to hold it at the very least. Even if it was liquid, I would be holding it because it's down in relation to the other Hex. And I think we could easily see closer to parity. I'd rather just stake it out.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree. I don't think people should be picking a winner, trying to outperform, because what if there's a whole bunch of what ifs out there? What if something happens with PulseChain? What if something happens with Ethereum? You just never know. And you don't want to be on the right side. You want to hedge your bags the best you can. And the only way to really do that is to maintain the copy that you got. No one says you have to buy more, but for God's sakes, don't sell it all and just make a decision and pick a side. It's just not a good idea. Yeah, you have a pretty good chance of being wrong if you do it that way. So
yeah, and it's gonna run. I mean, like, as soon as things start getting bullish here, eHex is going to have a few days that blow people away and everybody's going to be FOMOing back into it. It's going to happen. So definitely not something to ignore, I don't think. So
I said Johnny Chaos, and look at that, he showed up.
What is with that?
He must have an algorithm out there that yells at him when someone says his name.
I think he's in Elon Musk's ear, actually. I think he probably got him to send that tweet. So
very possible.
Let's wrap up, Ewok, and I know you're a little shorter on time tonight, so if you need to bounce, you let me know. But just looking at the PulseChain ecosystem and just looking at the prices right now, let's pull up some charts if you don't mind for a moment, and we can just look at. I guess we'll just look at like the main four here, but we have had PulseChain itself, everything just start to dip starting Monday of this week, and 1 minute you think you're out of the woods and like, hey, I think the bottoms are in. And a lot of people were saying that when we got a big pump last week, the lows must be in. We had that big PulseX capitulation off of the no single-sided staking tweet that wasn't really that everybody overreacted to. But looking at the ecosystem here, we can start out with Pulse, so start off with Pulse there. So again, it's really been the anchor to this ship, which is no real surprise. Also, Hex on PulseChain has been great. But PulseChain itself, we're at basically sack rate. We've had a low in terms of what people could buy at about 80% of the sack rate, maybe a tad below that. But what do you think, Ewok? Are we going to return to those lows, maybe touch it one more time? Do you think the bottom is in? What do you think about Pulse here?
Well, the structure is looking like when you don't elongate it like that, the structure is looking pretty bullish. I mean, you got a clear uptrend going here. I think it could chop around. I don't see it getting back down much below those levels. Now, here's the thing. If it does a 2x from sacrifice or whatever, if it does get up to, 0.0002 or 0.002, I think there could be people exiting, and that is one thing we don't know. However, I think as it goes up, you're going to see people protecting those prices more and more. So right now, to me, this looks pretty bullish. It looks like a clear, uptrend that could chop around a little bit, but I think we are in that uptrend that looks pretty good.
Yeah, I would not say like pack your bags or anything like that, but don't be worried either if we do retouch the lows. I mean, I at this moment, it's easy to say this because we've had more bullish action. I feel like the low is likely in, just based on, we've had a lot of FUD in recent weeks and stuff like that, and people overreacting to Richard's tweets. Nothing's really going to happen in terms of the Pulse token itself. I don't believe that would make people suddenly capitulate. PulseX, I understood that one a little bit. I didn't really understand it, but there was a method to the weird madness, I guess, with that. But yeah, just don't be upset if it loses another 20% one more time. That could happen. Right. It's not really that big a deal. And, it is still at the price that people waited 2 years to get the token at. Yep. So,
and Johnny brings up a good point. He said the new money just isn't here yet. So, I still think, this looks like a pretty healthy uptrend though, but I agree.
Yeah, we're still in what I would call circle jerk mode, I think, here, kind of. So let's go over to PulseX real quick here. Now, this one's going to be a little bit more interesting because, again, we have seen people FUD themselves out of their own bags with this after 2 years of saying that it was going to do 1,000x and all this stuff. So we are still about 67% down. So, again, Andrew asked earlier tonight in the chat, which one's a better buy at the moment, Pulse or PulseX? We both agree that, I want to have even bags of both, so be doing that. Now, if you would look at this chart, maybe you'd be inclined between the two to say, well, PulseX is because it's further down. But keep in mind, like we talked about too, the ratio has really been strong. I mean, like it has been right there at that 1-to-3 ratio with Pulse the entire time, other than in ratio trading days, which really don't count that much. So really, I mean, like if all other things being equal, I would rather buy Pulse right now. Just because the ratio is still so good, which, again, I think it's actually really bullish for PulseX. Like, forget what the chart looks like at the moment. The fact that it's still 1-to-3 to Pulse is good. That's good for where we are. But what do you make of where the chart is right now, Ewok? The low has basically been an 82% discount or so off of the SAC rate. So what do you think here?
Yeah, no, I agree. This one is, just more sloshing around. This one doesn't really have a uptrend like PulseChain does. However, you have to remember the ratios when things move. They're very heavily tied together. They're bonded. So, as one does something, the other should follow suit. If PulseChain starts to run, you're definitely going to see, this one move in step. It should keep that 1-to-3, 1-to-2.8, whatever that ratio number is. Likewise, if this one goes up, PulseChain could go too. Right. Like I said, just because of the liquidity bonding, things are going to move together, even though the charts look a little different right now. This one's, it just doesn't look like it's doing a whole lot. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in the accumulation zone as well. I wouldn't be afraid of buying. I did just buy it a couple of nights ago after it bounced off of the lows a bit. But we're still in that department. I mean, like anytime, the lows could certainly be in for PulseX as well. It's only about 25% below this. So if you couldn't stomach a temporary 25% or so drop, then I don't even know why you're in crypto, really. But definitely in a good accumulation zone as well. And again, I don't think it can be stressed enough. The fact that ratio has maintained so well with Pulse, I think, is extremely bullish for this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So, all right, let's take a look at, we'll do Hex on PulseChain first. This is probably the best chart that we will see because it really hasn't even been down. So that's going to look fantastic. Yeah, I mean, this is basically just auto buy as well. I mean, and funnily enough, and I think you've said the same, Ewok, of these 4 tokens, this is the only one I have not put like any new money in so far. I mean,
Right.
I got my copy and that was it. And if there's been any hex I've been buying, it's mainly been on Ethereum. I could see splitting those in the future. You know, you want to hedge your bets a little bit, but yeah, a lot of people already had hex, so if they got the copy, they were probably more interested in buying Pulse and PulseX. So
Right.
yeah, this chart obviously is the best we're going to see. But yeah, what do you make of it? And I guess if you want to talk again, I mean, like, what do you think we could see from Hex on Pulse by the rest of this year?
Well, again, you know, this one definitely has the old cup and handle formation. It's looking good. I think usually the handle kind of goes first, but either way, it's definitely rounded out. I think this, you know, you're going to see these pullbacks. Don't forget when Hex launched, how many times it pulled back as well.
Right.
But I think the liquidity is much better on PulseChain than it is on Ethereum. So there's still very little Hex for sale over there. And again, they're tied together. Right now, the ratio is just at like 2 to 1, right? I think
pretty much. Yeah.
So as this one goes, the other one will as well. This one's looking pretty good. I don't see anything. You know, it gets a couple red candles, and then the green ones step in, and they should be, you know, moving slowly. But you know, as Johnny said, we don't have that new money coming in. A lot of people, a lot of economic energy is unfortunately getting spread out amongst some very dumb things right now. Whereas if we only had these 4 coins to talk about, or 5 coins, including incentive, you know, there could be a lot bigger gains to be had. But unfortunately, it's the same people that are here. And a lot of them have run out, or, you know, don't have as much energy to inject into the system as they once did. So, you know, the gains could be a lot slower until, you know, don't forget, we've got a movie coming out here coming up soon. So, you know, there could be a nice little surge into the market from a lot of the eyes that are going to be on this film. So I wouldn't wait around. If you're planning on filling up some bags, you know, you might want to do it soon before that August 4th and 5th weekend, because that could just kind of trigger some bullish momentum. So
yeah,
just a thought.
For sure. Let's finish off by looking at Hex on ETH. This is going to look fucking terrible, obviously, because that's just where we're at right now. But it's going to be interesting to see the recovery process here for EHEX, because, you know, most people that would look at this chart in any kind of recent times would think that this thing is dead, and, you know, not knowing what's really going on with it or what has gone on or anything. But yeah, the nice thing is, like, a good caveat here is the fact that Hex on Ethereum has not gone down to a point past the point of no return, where it went down below such a level of support that it isn't going to be able to come up and hit potentials that we've had in mind for it. It hasn't gotten below that half-cent mark, or some people were talking about 3/10 of a penny or something. We haven't seen that. The low's pretty much been right around 70% of a penny anyway. So yeah, what do you think we will see here? And I just a comparison I wanted to make real quick, because talking about the people that are looking at the PulseChain and Hex and EHEX split so far, I feel like doing that in the 2 months that we've had, or a little bit over 2 months, to make like a comparison to a sport like baseball, okay, which you know, any sport where there's like a huge sample size. Maybe you could look at, crypto is worldwide, soccer is worldwide. There's a lot of people that watch soccer around the globe, EPL, Bundesliga, whatever league it may be. There's a lot of matches in a year. There's a lot of opportunities to score, all these different types of things. Think about like your favorite soccer team, baseball team, whatever. And maybe it's a baseball team that's like mired in a slump. They're in last place. You know, they have all this talent and all this stuff. And I'm comparing this to EHEX right now. But their run differential is like plus 35, which is a good number for that point in the season. Or think about like your favorite soccer team, and they're like 1-4-3, like they've only won one match, and they're at the bottom of the table or something like that, but they have a positive goal differential, and you're seeing these good behaviors. Think of it like that. Maybe that's not the best comparison in the world, but I think it stands to reason. What I'm trying to say is a small sample size is just stupid to evaluate something on that early on, especially when you know the amount of people that are still in EHEX, that are saying they're still in EHEX, who will be there. We know there could be a big seller out there, whatever. But I just think we need to think more long-term, and I just don't think many people are doing that.
Well, and I think there was a lot of bearish sentiment because of that possible big seller. But I do think they have come around, understood that dumping it now would make no sense. And I think once that fear washes out, you do see the ratio coming back a little closer to 1-to-1. It may not ever get to 1-to-1, but I do think it will get close, especially as the share rate and the prices pull away even more. People are going to go where the money is treated the best. And if right now you can get twice as many T-shares for the same amount of money, it just makes sense that's where you put it. So that's the smart game, accumulation of T-shares for the people that know, that's what you want to be doing. I do think there is positivity, even though it is a 2-to-1 ratio right now. But again, ETH, don't forget, is closer to the on and off ramps. When that new money does start to flow in, when this movie is shown, people are going to be a lot closer to the ETH side of things. They may not, catch or know how to do PulseChain, but they could get into Hex very easily now with Uniswap or whatever it may be. I see this pulling in a lot closer. It does, it doesn't look overly bullish right now, but we are testing this lower level. I don't know if you can see, I've had this line on here too, some of these different downtrend lines, and we're closing in on this support, which we bounced right off of pretty nicely. Again, so this is bullish as long as it stays above this support line. From way back, this is one of the older ones, so that is bullish. And then once we start going up, I think this is looking bullish too. There's a clear.
Well, Elon just tweeted it's because of Elon. This is an Elon pump
for sure. This is a couple days. This is a day candle though. So
I'm just messing.
It'd be nice. I would love to see something come of this Elon tweet.
It's up 2%. It's up 2% the last couple minutes, or last hour or so.
Are you serious?
I think so. Maybe not. It may not be EHEX actually. I don't know. I didn't see which chart that was.
It did dip below a penny, and we were at a penny, holding pretty steady at a penny. So hopefully we can turn this red candle green and keep moving forward. But like I said, this line has been on my chart for quite a while, and I saw this downtrend here. This is one of the main downtrend lines, and it did come down on there, and it acted as support, bounced off. So I think that's a good thing. Again, there's not a whole lot of liquidity here. This is V2 of Uniswap, only 151 ETH and 30 million hex for sale. It's not a lot. It's really not a lot for a whale to come in and move the price around pretty good. So I don't know what the liquidity is on V3 on the ETH side either. I haven't checked that in a while, but there's not a lot for sale. So a lot less than there is on PulseChain.
Another thing people have neglected to talk much about, is the lack of liquidity on the EHEX side. So when it moves, it could really move. So look out for that. And we'll finish off here in a moment talking about the movie, The Highest of Stakes. We got an updated new 1-minute trailer today that blew the 3-minute one out of the water, I believe. If you guys are here and enjoying the stream, do us a favor and hit the like. We do this every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let us talk about The Highest of Stakes. And again, Ewok, if you do have to bounce, just let me know.
I'm
But
good.
Cool. We did get that new trailer today. I saw you commented on the Highest of Stakes, guys. Much better, much tighter. Obviously, it's only a minute. I think it really captured it captured the kind of charismatic, whatever you want to say, figure that Richard is, which is the lesser interesting part of all this. But then it also had those great voiceover dubs of him talking about what's happened to the dollar and things like that. Yeah. Some good stuff from RG3 in there and everything. So yeah, what did you make of that? And any other, theaters added, any other rumblings that you've heard regarding the film?
Well, I commented as soon as they did it. I said, I like the fact that you removed "I have a big dick" from the first line of the trailer, because that turned people off. Like it or not, that's Richard. I get it. But yeah, I do think it turned some folks away. And they kind of stopped listening at that point. So I'm glad they did that. Yeah, it hit hard. I enjoyed the new quick trailer. I don't know. There were a few more theaters added over the last few days. Nothing new in the last one day or so, but they are still looking for some ambassadors at some of these sites to, welcome people and say hello and, some of the smaller ones that haven't sold out, but a lot of them have been selling out. I know LA, Miami, a lot of the bigger venues, DC, I just saw earlier, that one is sold out. So as we do this, and there's rumblings of now, with the amount of sales that now they're talking about possibly trying to get some theaters opened up globally. I don't know if Regal Theaters is a global company. I think it is, but when I went to look at the list, it would only show me the U.S. locations. So that I'm not really sure if it'll be that or But either way, the more tickets that get sold, we know it will draw a more attractive streamer service as well. So that is the ultimate goal. Is once this launch, the theater launch is done. To get on the biggest streaming platform we can. Obviously, Netflix would be great, or something equivalent. But yeah, things are looking very good. I think they are adding more and more dates too. They're thinking about doing it, because there was only 2 dates added. Some places only 1 date, Friday night, and then a lot of the places were Friday and Saturday. Now they're talking about expanding that as well. Yeah, I mean, it's bullish in general. I think the community has done great work with the Highest of Stakes people in getting events set up and doing different things. I'm traveling over 3 hours, so there's not a whole lot I can do. I have to drive down, watch it, and drive back the same day for other reasons. But it's it's amazing. I think the launch of this is going to be quite bullish for everybody. Pretty excited. I can't wait to see it.
I am too. Yeah, if you haven't checked out that new trailer, I would definitely check it out on the Highest of Stakes Twitter. I think they probably uploaded it to YouTube as well. But yeah, I think it does much more of a service to the film. And yeah, I mean, I shared the tweet in the chat there. But yeah, they're tweeting about like premier hosts for the Highest of Stakes at their different cities, being part your mayor of your slice of Hexaco. I just think it's cool that they're kind of doing their own advertising for this, really kind of grassroots, like on Twitter, talking to the community. Like these guys seem to really understand the community of Hex, which is really cool. And again, like so many people have pointed out, they didn't then just go out and create a puff piece. They create, like, even that minute-long trailer there's no normal person that's going to see that and think anything other than this is like a stupid cult, or like I'm watching Tiger King 2.0 or something like that. I mean, like that's what they're going to think. And that's totally fine. I mean, I want people to come and see the movie. I'm not hating on it at all. So, it's going to be very cool. I don't really see any negatives at all from it. I think it'll just be fun to see what the reaction is, because I don't really know what to predict. I don't know if there will be a pump going into it or after it, to sell the news, buy the news. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be, but it'll be fun regardless, I think. So, yeah.
Johnny said RG3. I'll check and see if he updated something while you talk. I should have looked.
Okay. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all that we have got tonight. This is definitely a great episode. Lots of, he was just streaming live, it looks like, a little bit ago.
Yeah.
I'll check that out after I get out of here.
Gotcha.
So guys, we do this every Wednesday night. A lot of positivity in the chat tonight. We love you guys. Love you being here. We try to take a measured, kind of diplomatic approach to everything we talk about here. You're not going to get like any kind of wacky predictions and funny stuff and all this and everything. I mean, we just try to be legit and give our real straightforward opinion about everything here. Ewok and I have known each other for quite some time, so we kind of already have that kinship, if you will, that appeal with each other. So it's easy for us to have a conversation. So thanks to everybody for stopping in. Johnny, thank you for being here. All you guys in the chat tonight. Andrew is here every week, as always. Clifton Lewis is a longtime viewer. Mr. Chinks, thanks for being here. Cody, Pauly, a lot of you guys here tonight. We very much appreciate it. So every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard, smash the like on your way out. We will catch you next week, where I will say, we have if anybody cares, which I don't, and maybe you don't either, but the FOMC is meeting next week. We'll see if they do that 25-point rate hike that has been widely considered to happen. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But another fun week in crypto. For Crypto Ewok, this has been Boi Crypto. We'll catch you next week right here on the Creed of Crypto podcast.